About 120 million years ago, when dinosaurs still ruled the Earth and ancient forests covered the continents, bees as we know them today did not yet exist. The ancestors of bees were more like wasps and predatory insects. They lived hard lives. Every day, they had to hunt insects and small creatures to feed their young. Hunting was never easy. Sometimes they flew for hours without finding prey. Sometimes prey fought back or other predators attacked them. Sometimes they returned home exhausted and empty. Life was a constant race between hunger and survival. Then the earth began to change. Flowering plants appeared and slowly spread across the land. Flowers were not created just to be beautiful. They needed to reproduce. And to reproduce, their pollen had to travel from one flower to another. Some insects accidentally landed on flowers while searching for prey. Pollen stuck to their legs and bodies. They tasted it and discovered pollen was rich in nutrients. Nectar was sweet, easy to digest, and did not require fighting to obtain. At that moment, a new path opened. Those insects that preferred pollen and nectar visited flowers more often, relied less on hunting, survived better, and produced more offspring. Over millions of years, new generations slowly changed. Mouthparts adapted to sucking nectar, bodies grew hairier to hold pollen, sense of smell became sharper to find flowers. They were no longer hunters. They became flower feeders. And from them, the true ancestors of bees were born, not through a sudden revolution, but through millions of tiny, quiet, persistent changes over time. Bees did not choose to become bees. Nature chose them because they knew how to adapt.
Part 2. The meeting between bees and flowers when the ancestors of bees began visiting flowers for pollen and nectar, a special relationship slowly formed. At first, it was just coincidence. Bees came for food and flowers benefited because their pollen was carried away. But nature does not keep coincidences for long. Flowers that attracted more insects reproduced better. Insects that found food more efficiently survived longer. So bees and flowers began to change together. Bees with hairier bodies held pollen better and unknowingly helped flowers reproduce more effectively. Bees with better memory could return to the same flower fields more easily. Bees with longer tongues could reach nectar hidden deep inside certain flowers. These bees survived more often and passed their traits to the next generations. Over time, these became true flower specialists. Flowers also evolved. Flowers with brighter colors were easier for bees to see. Flowers with stronger scents could call bees from far away. Flowers shaped to fit the body of a certain bee allowed that bee to collect more nectar and carry more pollen. Slowly, each flower species developed its own key, and each bee species became a matching lock. Some flowers only fit long-tongued bees. Some flowers opened only for small bees. This was the result of millions of years of evolving together. Bees do not know they are helping flowers reproduce. Flowers do not know they are feeding bees. But in silence, their fates became tied. If one day bees disappear, flowers will bloom in loneliness. If one day flowers disappear, bees will starve. This meeting has no spoken promise.
After becoming true flower feeders, the ancestors of bees still lived alone. Each bee built a small nest in soil, tree trunks, or rock cracks. Each one searched for food and raised its own young. That life seemed free, but it was fragile. A heavy rain could destroy a nest. A small bird could eat an entire generation of larvae. If a mother bee died, her bloodline ended. In such conditions, bees that stayed near others had an advantage. When one was attacked, others could warn when one nest was destroyed, another could offer shelter when food was scarce. The group could search for flowers together. Cooperation did not come from awareness, but from survival. Bees that lived close to others survived more often. Gradually, groups of bees formed. Inside each group, individuals began to do slightly different jobs. Some were better at guarding, some flew far to find flowers, some stayed to care for larvae. Over time, these differences became roles. Roles became social structure. Then a major turning point appeared. Some females stopped reproducing and devoted their entire lives to caring for the offspring of others. The main reproducing female became the queen. The workers became worker bees. This is rare in the animal world, individuals giving up reproduction to serve the whole group. But because of this, the colony became stronger, larger, and more stable. From then on, the hive was no longer a home for individuals, but a living body where each bee is a cell. When one is tired, another replaces it. When one dies, the colony continues. Bee society has no king who commands, no written laws. Yet each bee knows its job, not because it understands, but because millions of years of evolution have carved it into instinct.
Part 4. From a drop of honey to the fate of Earth.
When bee society was formed, bees did not live only to survive, they lived to build. The most important job of worker bees is to find food and store it for the whole colony. But their food is unlike that of any other animal.
Bees do not eat meat. They eat pollen and nectar. But nectar is too watery to store for long, so bees must change it into something new: honey. A single bee visits hundreds of flowers each day. It sucks tiny drops of nectar and stores them in a special stomach. On the way back to the hive, the nectar begins to change through enzymes in the bee's body. When it reaches the hive, it does not keep the nectar for itself, but passes it to another bee. This process is repeated many times. With each transfer, the nectar is processed one more step. Finally, it is placed into honeycomb cells. Hundreds of bees stand around, beating their wings constantly to evaporate water, making the liquid thicker. When it becomes thick enough, it turns into honey, the life supply for the colony during seasons without flowers. But bees do more than make honey for themselves. While flying from flower to flower, pollen sticks to their hairs and legs. When they land on another flower, that pollen falls, helping the flower reproduce and create seeds, fruits, and new plants. Bees do not know they are building forests, fields, and fruit for the world. They only do their work. Yet more than 70% of human crops need bees for pollination. Without bees, flowers bloom but do not bear fruit. Plants slowly disappear. The food chain breaks. Today, bees face the greatest challenge in their history. Pesticides kill helpful insects. Forests are cut, flowers vanish. Climate change confuses flowering seasons. If bees disappear, the world will not collapse overnight, but it will grow hungrier, poorer, and emptier each year. Bees do not cry for help. They simply keep flying until they cannot fly anymore. And when the last bee falls, humans will finally understand. Losing bees is not just losing a species, it is losing a part of life itself.